The Galactic Academy Xenobiology Lecture Hall fell silent as Professor Zexstar wheeled in the containment unit. Through the translucent aluminum walls, something dark and sinuous moved with predatory grace. The assembled students' representatives from 14 different species across the galaxy instinctively shifted away from the cage. Their various forms of expressing fear evident in chittering mandibles, flattened ear analogs, and the rapid color changes of chromatophore-bearing skin. All except one. Marcus Chen sat perfectly still in the back row, his brown eyes fixed on the creature with an intensity that made his Velthari seatmate's tentacles curl in distress. The human exchange student had been an oddity since his arrival at the academy. 3 months ago, the first representative from the recently discovered Death World Terra to attend the prestigious institution. Today, we examine the Kethmara Shadowstalker, Professor Zexstar announced, her forearms gesturing toward the containment unit. One of the apex predators from the Kethmara homeworld. Notice the sleek musculature, the razor-sharp claws, and those eyes evolved specifically for hunting. In complete darkness. The creature in question stood nearly 2 meters tall, its obsidian fur rippling over corded muscle. 6 limbs ended in claws that could slice through starship hull plating, and its 3 eyes glowed with an eerie bioluminescence that had evolved to hypnotize prey. When it opened its maw, 3 rows of serrated teeth gleamed like polished daggers. The Shadowstalker represents the pinnacle of predatory evolution, the professor continued. Its homeworld has a gravity 1.3 times standard, with atmospheric pressure that would crush most species. The ecosystem is so hostile that only the most perfectly adapted predators survive. A nervous titter ran through the class. Several students had activated their personal shields, and one Floraxian had actually fainted, its flower-like head drooping toward the floor. Who can tell me what makes this creature so formidable? Professor Zexstar asked. Tentacles, claws, and various appendages shot up around the room. The professor called on Caliph, a proud Razor Crest warrior whose species had conquered 12 star systems. The perfect killing machine, Caliph declared, puffing out his chest plates. No wasted energy, no unnecessary features. Pure death-given form. Excellent observation, the professor nodded. The Shadowstalker has no natural predators. Nothing on its world can threaten. A quiet voice interrupted from the back of the room. Actually, that's not entirely accurate. Every head sensor, cluster, and optical organ turned toward Marcus. The human stood slowly, his movement fluid and controlled in a way that reminded several students uncomfortably of the creature in the cage. Professor Zexstar S. Eyestalk swiveled toward him. I beg your pardon, Human Chun? Marcus stepped into the aisle, and several students scrambled out of his path. Not from hostility. There was something about the way he moved that triggered deep evolutionary responses in prey species. I said, "That's not accurate," Marcus repeated calmly. The Shadowstalker isn't a perfect killing machine. It's actually pretty poorly designed for what it does. The silence in the room was deafening. Caliph as warrior pride flared. You dare question the professor's expertise, Deathworlder? Marcus ignored the challenge, focusing instead on the creature in the cage. May I approach the containment unit? Professor? Every instinct screamed at Zexstar to refuse, but academic curiosity won. The barriers are rated for Class 12 containment. Proceed, but maintain safe distance. Marcus walked down the steps with predatory silence, each footfall precise and measured. As he approached the cage, something remarkable happened. The Shadowstalker stopped pacing, its 3 glowing eyes fixed on the human, and for the first time in its captivity, it pressed itself against the far wall of its enclosure. Look at its posture, Marcus said conversationally, as if discussing the weather. Lowered center of gravity, ears flattened, defensive positioning. It's afraid. Impossible, Caliph snarled. Shadowstalkers fear nothing. Marcus placed his hand flat against the containment barrier. The Shadowstalker's entire body went rigid. See, here's the thing about apex predators, Marcus continued. His voice carrying clearly through the stunned silence. They're only apex predators in their specific environment. This beauty evolved on a world with high gravity and thick atmosphere, sure. But those conditions also made it dependent on specific hunting patterns. He pointed to the creature's eyes. Bioluminescent lures work great in absolute darkness, but they're useless against anything that hunts primarily by scent or hearing. Those claws? Magnificent for slashing, but they sacrifice grip strength. And that muscular build? Pure fast twitch fiber. Great for explosive attacks, terrible for endurance. The professor found her voice. Human-chun, how could you possibly? No, because I've seen this design before, Marcus said simply. Earth has dozens of species with similar evolutionary patterns. Big cats, Komodo dragons, crocodiles. Ambush predators that rely on overwhelming initial strikes. He turned to face the class, and several students recoiled from the intensity in his eyes. The Shadow Stalker is perfectly evolved to hunt the herbivores and small omnivores of its homeworld. But you know what it's never encountered? Persistence hunters, pack hunters, tool users. Marcus smiled, and that expression was somehow more unsettling than any snarl. See, humans evolved as endurance predators on a world so hostile it makes. The Kethmara homeworld looked like a vacation resort. We didn't develop overwhelming strength or natural weapons. Instead, we developed something much more dangerous, the ability to never give up. He gestured toward the cowering Shadow Stalker. This magnificent creature could probably kill me in a straight fight, but I would never give it a straight fight. I'd track it for days if necessary, using tools, setting traps, coordinating with my pack. I'd chase it until its fast twitch muscles failed, until it collapsed from exhaustion, until it had nothing left. The human smile widened slightly. Earth didn't give us claws or armor or natural weapons. It gave us something infinitely more terrifying: intelligence, endurance, and the absolute refusal to accept defeat. Professor Zextara stared at the readings from the containment unit. The Shadow Stalker's stress hormones had spiked to levels she'd never seen. It continued to press against the far wall, as far from the human as possible. The most dangerous predator in the galaxy, Marcus concluded, isn't the one with the biggest teeth or the sharpest claws. It's the one that turns hunting into science, that sees every other creature as a problem to be solved, rather than a force to be feared. He looked around the room at the assembled students, and in that moment, they all understood why humans were the first species to voluntarily call their own world a death world. Class dismissed, Professor Zextar whispered as the students filed out in stunned silence. The Shadow Stalker remained pressed against its cage wall, 3 glowing eyes tracking the human until he disappeared from view for the first time. In its life, the apex predator had encountered something higher on the food chain, something that didn't just hunt for survival, but for the simple, terrifying joy of the chase.